So, the title of the poster is Broadband Spectroscopy of Electronuclear Spin Qubits based on vanadil porphyrin. Sorry, I cannot see the rest of the title. And congratulations, this has been sponsored by the journal Entropy. And we would like also to say that there's a runner-up that has been pretty close to the first one, which is Alejandro Vivas, of title Poster 2 Photon Resonance Fluorescence of Non-Identical Interacting Quantum Emitters. Alejandro, you can share your screen now if you can.
Hi, thank you.
Hello, congratulations to the runner-up. Well, the jury tells me that it's been pretty close between you both, so I want to congratulate you too. And they want me to tell you that it's been basically the poster, the jury appreciates a well-balanced combination of factors, among them the summarized and sophisticated experiment carried out by a large team, and also that it's been, it has summarized the spirit of the conference with one of the pillars, which is quantum computing. So this is of course very important. So thank you both. And now, without further delay, I would like to stop sharing the screen now. So thank you so much. And without further delay, I would like to introduce our Secretary General of Innovation from the Ministry of Science and Innovation and President of the Center for Technological Industrial Development from 2020. Mrs. Secretary General, it is a pleasure and an honor to have you here with us. So please, whenever you're ready. Thank you.
Very much, Veronica, and good morning, everybody on the other side of the screen. Thank you for to the Spanish Network of Quantum Information and Technology for inviting me for this for opening this Industrial Day that I think is very, very relevant. And also congratulations to the awarded posters that are very, it's very good and very relevant this day. Okay. First of all, I would like to tell you, I say my introduction will be mainly based on what is the position in and the funding that you can find in both in Spain and Europe related to the technologies that you are working in. I think these technologies, quantum technologies, have been growing and growing during the last years, as you know much better than myself. And the challenges are now here. And this is the idea of having an industrial day today that maybe it was quite an unbelievable thing maybe 5 years ago. Yeah. So this is the first thing that I think the day, I say the program for today is very interesting because we have this very wide spread of different sectors present in the conference and in the event, where we can find the interest of these different sectors working in quantum technologies from different points of view. So I think this is something that is, as I starting to be ready, and this is something that on this side, the Secretary General of Innovation and particularly the Ministry of Science and Innovation, we are very much committed to support the quantum sector, if I can say it in a very wide way. As you know, some years ago, I remember, because I was present in the opening or in the kickoff of the quantum flagship in Europe. The quantum flagship is a very important and group of people and projects that are running now. Spain is now the fourth Europe country in funds assigned to, in this flagship, and so far we are participating in and a large number of projects, not only from the academic part that you know, but also enterprises and particularly also SMEs, apart from Telefonica, QSite, VLC Photonics, or TTI Norte are participating in the projects in this flagship. So this is very relevant because the Spanish research groups are for sure committed, but also the Spanish companies are as well. So I think this is one of the things that are very important, and we are supporting this flagship as much as we can. Yeah, from this kickoff meeting that took place in Vienna. I think it was 2018. Yeah, but and now I don't know exactly. Second thing is that now in Spain we have just presented publicly our program for this new next generation EU funds that we are developing in something that is is distributed in 10 main policies and 30 what we call components, and one of the components which is related with science and innovation, which is component 17, in case you want to browse a little bit the difficult information that is published in the web, is component 17. And in that you can find that apart from the bottom-up type of research calls that are the normal calls, I mean, that you can present whatever you want. We are also having new calls that are somehow top down, in the sense that there are some of the main topics are highlighted or are specifically relevant for us. In this case, I want to highlight that, for example, in the recently published call and recently also closed, I think, for projects in multi and interdisciplinary projects in cooperation, there is one of the key fields that is related to experimental quantum technologies that is expected to have consortia that are running projects in all the fields related with quantum technologies, but also to have a strong cooperation between academia and the industrial sector. So I think these are the things that we have to do, and we are trying to push industry working with the academic sectors, particularly in those topics like quantum technologies that are very somehow they are not very close to the last TRLs. And also as a last contribution from this next generation EU funds, we are starting a call. This is not an open call, but it's a call that we are doing in cooperation with the communities, with the regional communities. And one of the 8 topics that we are highlighting is quantum communication. So in this sense, we are very much committed with this. I'm very happy to see in the program that there are so many companies from very different sectors, and also to see that the industrial associations like AMETIC, for example, they have a very a good commitment also with these quantum technologies that is the main topic of this conference. So I wish you a very good day and very nice discussions. And I hope that next year, maybe we can meet face to face and interact directly. So thank you very much again, Verónica, for inviting me. Thank you. It's a big pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. General Secretary. Thank you so much for giving these very, very important remarks and showing us that there's an interest and the field is growing, and hopefully this will turn into very successful achievements for Spain. So thank you so much, Mrs. Secretary. And now I will present Enrique Lizaso, CEO of Multiverse Computing, member of the Quantum Group AMETIC, mentioned by the Secretary General, and member of the Executive Board of the Quantum Industrial Consortium. So Enrique, whenever you're ready, give you pass.
Thank you very much, Veronica, just for inviting me to this forum. And also, thank you very much just for sharing this time with Mrs. Secretary General and all of you, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, I am here representing AMETIC, which, as you know, is the voice of the digital industry, and also highly commit to the quantum computing age and the quantum computing development from the industrial side. So when I was preparing the presentation, I was thinking about, okay, maybe all the companies that we have here, they know who AMETIC is for sure, and they may know that we have quite active quantum computing and quantum technology section inside AMETIC, which is lobbying and preparing documents and proposals just to keep on maintaining Spain at the lead of the quantum technologies in Europe. But I thought that it would be also interesting to show how important the commitment of the industry is just to have a healthy and growing quantum technologies sector. So I have prepared, I'm not just going to put my face here, I am just going to share my screen, and let me, I have entered in full screen. So I hope you are really seeing my screen, so any appreciation is
yes,
welcome.
Enrique, no problem.
Thank you very much. And this presentation is about how important is the participation of the industry in these early stages of the quantum technologies, let's say age or revolution or wherever. So let's review something that you already know, but I will try to do in a slightly different way. What had happened in the last years? Okay, as the Secretary General has already mentioned, okay, the beginning, and it was not so long ago, it was even 2018, it was 2016, the European Commission decided that a huge coup de force, a huge effort was necessary to bring up the quantum technologies in Europe to avoid get sidelined by the other main players. And the other main players were at that moment USA, or some may say North American, even USA or Canada companies, and for sure China with the holy trinity of Baidu, Tencent, and Alibaba, plus the government. So the USA prepared a quantum gov proposal. It's worthy to remember that this proposal, which finally was signed in one of its forms by President Trump himself, was introduced by Kamala Harris. So that means that even the difference in the bipartisan situation in the United States, the quantum industry and the quantum technologies were deemed to be too important to argue about that. So I think that the amount that the USA dedicated to that was about 1.2 billion euros or dollars, sorry. Europe decided to set up the quantum flagship, completely important instrument, which 1 billion euros for those kind of technologies, and including for sure, basically the research, but also some involvement on the industry. And China, you never know, because according to their own press release notes and so on, that should be some figure from 10 billion on. And depending on where you read this news, maybe just for one of them or for some of them. You never know. The point is, this was 2018 when the flagship was finally established after, I think it was 2 years of negotiation, preparation, and this kind of things. And then, well, Europe was not bad situated at the beginning of this late turn of the quantum age. But the question is, was it sufficient? Okay. Okay, the situation 3 years later, as now, is kind of worrying. And this is relevant, as you already know, because all the STEAM audience here belongs to this particular field. In the field of quantum hardware, most of the companies, most of the larger companies are either North American based, I mean Canadian or American companies, or use control. For example, some of the companies that are just starting to develop in Europe, some of them are just moving part of the funding to the other part of the Atlantic. The situation is exactly the same in the quantum software industry. Remember, I'm talking about industry. I'm not talking specifically about research, which Europe is quite advanced and more advanced in particular fields, but I'm talking about the industry. In quantum software, is nearly the same. Either they are the most of the companies US-based, or either they are use control. What does it mean to be US-based or US controlled? Is that we, the Europeans, the Spaniards, have not quantum software, for example, or hardware companies? No, it is not. But if you try to use and develop solutions for the industry, usually you are referred to the American solutions or the European solutions. And the question is, how is possible that this happened here? We put 1 billion euros on the quantum flagship. And now we find that we are just routing, we are taking exactly the same path that had happened with other developments, digital developments. I mean, are we repeating again the thing that all the, let's say, to put some examples, that the operating system for mobiles went from Europe to the United States, just to Android or iOS? Are we repeating this situation? Okay, for sure. This is not a simple question to be answered, but something relevant was missing at the beginning, or maybe the situation has changed too fast. And this is exactly the role of the industry. Industry should be involved, and we are involved in that. And as the Secretary General had said, we are just working on trying to improve the situation and the involvement of the industry in the quantum technologies. Okay, so, but then the war, to say something, if you allow me, this strong war, has been not only just been fought on the flagship and all the also quantum gov initiatives and so on. They have moved to the industry. And so we have here that the United States set up the specific organization for the quantum industry companies. And Canada, which is also deemed to be some of the relevant partners here, some of the relevant players, to say something here, they also set up a quantum industry consortium. And they decide, okay, we have this kind of consortium where if you are American, you may enter in the American QAD. If you are Canadian, you may enter into the quantum industry in Canada. If you are European, you cannot enter in this field. You may be an associate. But these particular organizations serve like not only lobbying, but a kind of organizing the entrance of the industries in these particular things. So What about China? Well, China looks like we need a different approach to deal with them, a more political charges approach, and the decision should be made not at a country level, but a completely European level. But this time, the European Commission decided to set up a quantum industrial consortium, a quantum industry consortium. And this quantum industry consortium that AMETIC is also a member of this quantum industry consortium. Nowadays, it's about more than 100 companies inside them. And there are companies that are large, there are usual people that are, for example, we have some national examples here, as maybe Indra, BBVA, GMB, and more others, sorry to mention. And regarding France and Germany, you have the Saab, you have the Thales, you have Athos, you have Bosch also. But in this quantum industry consortium, there is a strong representation also of the small and medium companies from the startups, something that the European Commission was completely interested just to put inside this formula. So we are just trying to fight this kind of associationism on the other side of the Atlantic with exactly the same here, with the idea of getting a strong involvement on the industry inside this European consortium. But this time is also personal. I mean, for example, we have the Germany announcing 2 billion for the quantum technologies. France, like France, 1.8 billion, and the Netherlands, 615 billion. Okay, this is not a one-time payment. This has to be spent during, depending. Germany, for example, is 4 years, and the other ones, that depends on the particular things. And if we have some, just to take some examples from the German plan, you can see that the amount is complete, is brutal. There are just not only the federal involvement, but also, and this is important and a lesson for us as well, an involvement of the lower levels, more local initiatives, in this case, for example, the Munich Mali. And it's important to see that we have two approaches. One, which is the hardware, because we need to end the dependency on the quantum hardware from the other part of Atlantic, but also, and this is super important, on the software, but not on theoretical developments only, but most importantly, on how to use the current quantum computers, noisy, small, to some particular problems of interest, of real problems of the real industry. Because the situation is more or less the same that when, I'd say, in the 50s, we start having the first computers, the electronic brains, they call. With the electronic brains from the 1950s, from the previous century, what we can do at that point? For sure, we couldn't do a Siri or artificial intelligence system. We apply that to accounting, which is a humble activity, but was important for the industries. So the point is, which are the use cases, which are the developments in software that we need us today with these noise, small quantum computers as we have? Okay. Important to say that the German plan and also our plan, they are divided between research centers, but industry has been completely necessary. I mean, you can see here the figures, okay? And the industry means not only the large ones, which you need, they are completely indispensable, but also the small startups. Consortium-based, as here in Spain, and sure, grants, not loans, because that is quite important, the choosing of the financial instrument for the companies, the industries, and naturally, the research and universities. So we decide. Okay, sure. What have they do? Okay, you may go for that as long as you have 2 companies in Germany. So they are trying to attract also foreign companies. But the situation is evolving fast. So we can see that this is not a situation that Now we have set up the Quick, which, as I mentioned before, MITIC is a proud member of it, and we are very well represented, as I will mention later. But let's take a tale of two companies here, which I have selected, not from being from Spain, but from some other country, just not to take the differences. If you have the ion trap companies, you have one super European company, which is AQT, okay, which is a spin-off from University of Innsbruck, okay, and they have limit funding. But if you go to the other side of the Atlantic, you have exactly the same technology, maybe not so well developed, but with a company that has been funded by a 2 billion, exactly the same amount that Germany, or nearly the same amount that Germany has, 2 billion euros. So this is how this war is being fought. Okay, so speed is key. We don't know what the future depends to us. We are pretty sure that the involvement of the industry and our institutions is completely irrelevant if we want to be somebody in this particular field, and we have to act fast and to adapt to the circumstances. Okay, Spain is not bad. I have taken this one, not only, okay, you will see here my company, but it's also you will see BBVA, Bankia, CSIC, BBVA again. This is a particular field that you will see later this day about the representation of Spain in a particular field, which is the financial quantum software. And who were, this is a report from the Boston Consulting Group, so it's pretty good. And you can see here all the players of the real players, okay, about 1 year ago. So Spain is pretty good here. So we have talent. That's not a question. The esteemed audience from here can confirm. We have a quite good talent. They are the good kind. We have some very good companies. We are organized as well. And we are very well represented at this particular point. We are in the supervisory advisory board of the flagship, but also we are in this new Quick Quantum Industrial Consortium Association. We belong, some companies belong to the governing board, and Spain is also represented in the leadership team. So the question is, okay, we should learn also from our neighbors and advance quite fast. But the final message is industry is the key for a healthy and stable and growing path to the use of quantum technologies in our country and to be a global player in this particular field. And that's pretty much what I have to tell you. So I think that I have just consumed my time, Veronica. Well, thank you very much for inviting me to be here. And
thank you so much, Enrique. That was a very, very interesting talk. You give us the perspective and the geopolitical situation regarding these technologies. So I have well, all of you don't want to ask any question, you just have to raise your hand and I will give you permits to speak, or you can do it using the questions and answers on the bottom part of your screen. So in the meantime, let's see if there's any raised hands. And in the meantime, I will ask you something. So what do you think about many researchers and companies that are either leaving Europe and going to different countries where quantum technologies are maybe there are more investment, and many researchers are leaving and many companies are changing their headquarters. So can we keep up with the biggest powers in this, like China or the US, when our human resources, let's say, are leaving, specialized people that can work in this leave? What do you think about
this? Is a pretty good question, because one of the things that you notice when you are just dealing with the Americans, for example, from a company like my own company, but you have also the same experience, is that your counterparts on the other side, they are also European. but working for American companies. I mean, this is the real situation now. So the question is, can we compete with those such large amounts of funding and also the money they are paying for these people and so on? Well, I think that it's also relevant the point of view of our neighbors. For example, when you go to France, they say we have talent, but our talent are going outside. Even we have money and even we have infrastructures. So it's not the key. You need infrastructures, that's for sure. But what you really need is projects. I mean, you can attract talent, and this is something we have an experience on doing that. But if you have real large projects, I mean, and you have to pay the price. I mean, people are always, you are right, willing to come back if they are Spaniards, or even they came back from some countries, and they may accept a kind of lower rate. At some point, they are going to ask for more, that's for sure. Or if you are in a startup, they are going to ask for part of the capital, that's natural. But the key question is, which are the projects? Because these are special guys. The people that we have in the audience, for example, they are the top of our universities. You have to offer them not only money and stability, but also projects. And regarding the stability and the money, you have to be for market salaries, to say something. And also, you have to understand that if they came for the industry, stability is not the same for the government. So it's different that you want to attract part of the people to the research center. This is a different approach, or you want to attract them to the industry. In the case I can talk about, which is the industry, the key combination is the project, is the leadership of the project, and that you sell them that you are fighting on a global war, plus a retribution that should be in the market, for sure. But this is my particular point of view.
That's very interesting, Enrique. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm going to give pass now to Andres Gomez from the Galicia Supercomputing Center, who's going to be the chair of the quantum computing session. So, Andres, whenever you're ready. Thank you.
Thank you, Veronica. Well, we move to the next session. We have almost all the panelists now here connected. I really appreciate if you are not talking, you can switch off your camera, so to avoid problem with the bandwidth of the attendees. The first speaker is Inés de Vega. Inés de Vega works for IQM, that is a well-known company, European company in the sector of quantum computer, and the floor is yours. Inés, you have 10 minutes.
Thank you very much, Andres. Thank you very much, everyone, for inviting me here today, for inviting IQM. I'm very happy to represent our company here. Let me see if I'm able to share the screen.
Yes, you're sharing it.
Okay, so I guess you can now see the correct one. Okay, so we are a hardware company that are also developing software, so software solutions, quantum solutions. And the company was initially founded in Helsinki, in Finland, but it opened a filial also last year in 2020. And we are right now more than 100 people, so it's already not that much of a startup company anymore. And well, this is our roadmap. We are actually working on the superconducting technology. And what I'm going to be discussing today a little bit is about how to do quantum computation with application-specific processors, and why this is, or we believe this is important to actually reach quantum advantage. So what is the situation? The situation is that we want to reach as an industry quantum advantage in different fields that you can see here in this nice picture, in this nice cloud. And this quantum advantage, we want to cover fields such as chemistry, physics, maths, computer, etc. But the problem is that there is a gap between the algorithm requirements and the current hardware capabilities, because today's processors do not provide large enough qubit count and gate depth to achieve quantum advantage. And the solution that we are seeking in our company is to use this co-design approach by which we actually design application-specific quantum processors. We say we co-design them to provide for an optimal mapping between software and hardware. So this is what I'm going to be discussing in brief. But just to give you an idea of what we are comparing with, let's check out briefly what is a general purpose quantum computer. So what is the idea of standard quantum computers? As you know, well, in our case, we are based on superconducting qubits. So the idea of this standard quantum computing is actually to arrange the qubits in square lattices and then apply some error correction codes and actually perform what is called digital quantum computation, which is based on single and 2 qubit gates. But the problem, as I said before, is that in order to really achieve quantum advantage with all this package, you actually need millions of qubits, and which is not feasible right now. I'm very sorry because my laptop is okay. Okay, so, but then this is the standard quantum computing toolbox where you have qubits in a square lattice operated with single and 2 qubit gates. And what we are doing when working with these application-specific quantum processors is actually to open the Lego box to consider more pieces, which means that we, on the one hand, consider more computational or different computational elements rather than qubits, like for instance, qubits or bosonic modes or resonators, as you want to call them. Then we also consider different types of chip topologies depending on the specific problem that you want to tackle, like for instance, specific materials that have some hexagonal structure. Then we consider hexagonal lattices for our application-specific processor. And we also, when it comes about the operations that we consider, we not only consider single and 2 qubit gates, but also either digital or digital analog ways to operate our bunch of qubits or computational elements. So sorry that my laptop is unfortunately going quite slow. Okay. I apologize for this slowness. Okay, so then here you can see the basic schematics. So imagine that you have a problem, a specific application. Here is a molecule that is called FEMOCO that is fundamental to, for instance, describe the process of synthesizing fertilizers. And then the idea is actually to produce an optimal mapping between this application and a specific algorithm, and then produce an optimal mapping between the algorithm and the quantum processor. So this is, in a nutshell, what we mean with application-specific quantum processors. But let me give you just an idea of an example for the case of chemistry, which is what we would consider the lowest hanging fruit for quantum advantage. Why? Because in chemistry, many of the target systems are actually quantum mechanical in nature. And what people study in the context of chemistry is either nuclear or electronic properties. And in the case of nuclear properties, what you want in general is to simulate a nuclear system dynamics, like for instance, the nuclear dynamics of a material or a molecule, and also explore its response to external radio frequency fields. So this is the case, for instance, when in experiments that have to do with electron paramagnetic resonance, nuclear magnetic resonance to infer molecular structure, and also nuclear magnetic resonance imaging. But why do we need quantum computers? The reason is that in many of the scenarios that involve the dynamics of nuclei, it turns out that there is a large entanglement. And this is precisely the realm where classical computers reach their limits. So one example where we are working is actually belonging to the field of nuclear magnetic resonance imaging, and in particular in the description and the enhancement of contrast agents, which are, as you know, these are components that are injected in the body of a patient that is subject to some magnetic resonance imaging, so that some radio frequency signal is received from the tissues around the contrast agent or from the contrast agent itself, depending on the type of contrast agent. And the more standard or widely used contrast agent is called gadolinium, and it's moving a very, very large market, but it has the disadvantage that is having a very bad biocompatibility, and it's having a quite low polarization. Polarization is actually key to achieve a high contrast, but the polarization that this contrast agent can produce in the tissues around the places where it's going is actually quite small, and that's why the quality of the image is not optimal. So in the field of quantum nanotechnologies, people are analyzing the performance of an alternative contrast agent, which is called nanodiamonds, which are great because they are biocompatible and they have quite large nuclear decay times of the order of minutes. But the problem is that they are still quite low polarized. So 1 out of 10/5 nuclei are polarized, or 10/6, which means that the contrast of the image is still pretty low. And the solution is actually to dope these nanodiamonds with nitrogen vacancy centers that you can see here in red, that can be excited with a laser to actually polarize the nuclei of the nanodiamond and therefore produce a more enhanced image in the body. But actually the question that we are trying to address with the quantum algorithm is how to choose these laser parameters that to produce a higher polarization. And we can address this question quite accurately with quantum computers because actually nuclear spins can be directly represented by qubits, and actually quantum advantage can be achieved when a sufficiently large number of qubits can be implemented. And we could think about the standard approach, namely a square lattice topology, but what we are doing is to look for... Yes, I'm just finishing, one minute, please. But we are considering a star topology in our chip so as to directly implement or map the original problem. And let me just skip to the last part of the talk because I'm actually running out of time. So we are also analyzing electronic properties of molecules. Again, my slides are going pretty slow. Let me just finalize with an overview of the future of quantum computing. In our case, we have just had time to describe very briefly an example where we saw that designing a chip that mimics the configuration of the substance that we want to simulate is actually more efficient than considering a standard topology. But in essence, what we consider for the future of quantum computing is that quantum advantage will emerge gradually application by application, and it will be reached primarily with streamlined processors that are co-designed for specific algorithms that are actually tailored to be very efficient to run specific simulations of concrete problems. And this will happen in high performance computing centers because we believe that quantum computers will have to be combined with classical computers to actually produce an enhancement. And just to finish a little bit of advertisement, which I think is very important, I would like to mention that we are hiring, so please come to our webpage. And importantly here for this meeting is that we will be soon opening IQM Spain in Bilbao. So we will be seeking for experts in quantum computation. And you are all very welcome to screen this webpage because job announcements will come very soon for Spain. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thanks, Ines. It has been a very good presentation. Next speaker is David Vetesa. He is representing Alpine Quantum Technologies, that is delivering one of the first European quantum computers. So, David, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me okay. I'll just share my screen, just a sec. How's that? Does that work?
Yes.
Excellent.
Okay, it's perfect.
Perfect. Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Andres, firstly for the very kind invitation to speak this morning. So my name is David Vetesi. I'm the sales director at Alpine Quantum Technologies, or AQT. I hope you understand my Scottish accent. I'm based out of Scotland rather than based out of Innsbruck. I work remotely from AQT. Yeah, it's my pleasure to be able to speak this morning about a European trapped ion quantum computing company. So just to give you a quick overview, I'll try to run through this in case there's any questions at the end. So I'll try to go through it as quickly as possible. Perhaps you're not aware of AQT. I know Enrique mentioned it earlier. Thank you very much for your kind mention there, Enrique. So AQT, we're a 3-year-old company. We are based out of beautiful Innsbruck in the Alps, an extraordinarily beautiful place to work and live. And we manufacture trapped ion quantum computing hardware. I'll talk a little bit more about that, a bit more in depth about what we do. But our goal, our raison d'etre, is to build that universal quantum computer, which can be used for a variety of different applications that are touted at the moment by many people, such as in finance, as in pharmaceuticals, as in quantum chemistry. All these things we think will be benefiting from a trapped ion quantum computer. Innsbruck University has a fabulous history of working with trapped ions. We have experimental groups run by Professor Rainer Blatt, theoretical groups run by Professor Peter Zoller, and they've come together as the founders with my friend, the Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Tommy Mons, to create Alpine quantum computers. We're only about 20 people at the moment. We are growing all the time, and we are, how would I put this? Looking for people. We'll come back to that later on. We have a number of partners for, say, quantum software, for example, which will break down the barriers to using quantum hardware so that it can get to the public use faster. We also have a customer base, and we'll speak about where those customers are from and how they purchase from AQT. We have that over 3 continents already, and we're always looking for more. So just to speak about the products and services that we offer, perhaps I should start with saying that we do offer these sort of ion trap modules and subsystems, the very paradigms that we use ourselves inside the quantum computers. So the ion trap, for example, the linear Paul trap, which is going to be mentioned in the next slide, is one of our products that we offer. We can offer that with things like vacuum chambers, with optics, with magnetic resonators, and so on and so forth, to create subsystems and modules which can be taken by national laboratories or experimental university groups to build trapped ion systems, whether it be for quantum information applications such as we're talking about today, or for things like optical clocks, for example, which I'm speaking to a Spanish national laboratory about at the moment. So these can be used to grow the quantum ecosystem, to grow the number of people that want to use trapped ions in their application and find it exciting to build systems based on that. And of course, we also do offer quantum computers. We are manufacturers of quantum computers based on our own ion trap solutions. We offer kind of 2 ways to access the quantum computers. We have, of course, we have the cloud access. Now, we provide you with an API. You connect to our European located quantum computers via the cloud. That's available now, and there will be other ways to access that from the summer probably. And you can come and use our simulator right now, or you can access the actual quantum computers via the cloud. We can also offer an on-premises installation. Should you require that, should you require to have the actual quantum computer on your site located in, say, for example, a high-performance computing center or in a data center, then we can come, we can install that system there for you, and you can use that in a very standard data center environment. So we'd be able to offer something like 20 qubits, perhaps even going as far as 50 qubits, with a 99% gate fidelity, full qubit to qubit connectivity. So very high performance levels, and we can install that at your site, which gives you advantages for, say, things like compliance with security, on-demand access to quantum computers, so you can use it whenever you want. Of course, the cloud doesn't quite offer that, but we're working towards solutions that do. So those are the 2 ways that you can purchase products from AQT. The Pine linear Paul trap is the quantum processor that we have at the very heart of the quantum computer itself. So this is a very close-up photograph of our beautiful ion trap itself. This has been based on designs which have been ameliorated over 20 years at Innsbruck University, with a number of researchers, postdocs, PhDs, master students have all put in a little bit of specialness into this beautifully gold-plated ion trap. As you can see, some of the specifications here, I'll talk you through that. So it is capable, as we say in the specification, of trapping greater than 50 ions. Each of these ions can be considered a single qubit, or if you use, the 2-qubit Mohr-Sorensen gates, we can get many, many qubits from this ion trap. 50 isn't the limit. I've seen a string of ions in the trap, which is greater than 113, and one or two of the papers that have been produced have spoken about that. Well, we use calcium ions. Other customers that we have can use the ion of their choice. For example, ytterbium ions is very, very popular for a number of reasons. Of course, other companies like IonQ use ytterbium, but a number of universities will use ytterbium. And it doesn't have to be just the one species. It could be dual species. It could be molecular ions. It could be just strontium ions, just whatever you want to do. We do have very low heating rates and very good trap frequencies, and very low micromotion is then achieved on the ions to give very high qubit fidelity, as we've already discussed. But that also translates very nicely to optical clock applications. So if you're looking to have an ion clock, atomic clock, then using our trap will create very, very high levels of accuracy in your atomic clock. So that's the trap itself, very beautiful. And of course, the high numerical aperture will allow for fast feedback, an efficient readout of the fluorescence on the ion when you're doing quantum information applications. Just briefly, quickly, I think we're all speaking about this, is that we're also looking for people to come and join the company. We'd be very happy. Please do click on that link there. We're looking for software engineers and quantum engineers, not only in beautiful Innsbruck, but also in wonderful Munich, where we're going to have an office opening up very soon. I'll just wrap it up there, Andres, so that there can be any questions. I'll just go to my next slide. Many thanks for listening to me, and many thanks to the organizers for inviting me here today. I hope you understood my Scottish accent.
Yes, of course. Thank you very much, because you have consumed exactly the time that we provide you. So perfect. Next speaker comes from Gilimanjaro. Gilimanjaro, maybe you know, this is one of the Spanish companies that are developing hardware, in this case, a supercomputer, superconducting computer. And the speaker is Marta Pascual. Marta, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Andres, for the introduction. I'll share screen. Oh, sorry. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, great. So yeah, thank you very much for the introduction, and thank you very much for giving us this space to introduce and give you a little bit of an overview of what Gilimanjaro is, who we are, and what we do. I'm Marta Starellas. I'm a quantum engineer in Gilimanjaro since early this year. And I'll just give a brief introduction on who Gilimanjaro is. So Gilimanjaro is a startup that is a very recent startup that was, even though it was founded in late 2019, it was not until mid-2020 that the teams and all the technical part of Gilimanjaro started to take form, and we end up hiring all the important pieces. We are a spin-off from three very important research and academic institutions in Barcelona. IFAE, which is the High Energy Physics Institute, the Barcelona Supercomputing Center, and the University of Barcelona. These collaborations are very advantageous for Gilimanjaro because thanks to these links, we get access to lab space, clean rooms, or supercomputing time, which is very good for us. But so who's Gilimanjaro? Gilimanjaro was founded by these people. These are the founders and the managers. Victor Canivey is our CEO, and he has an extensive experience in high-tech startups as both CEO and board chair. I'm sure you all know José Ignacio Latorre. José Ignacio Latorre is a professor in theoretical physics, and at the moment he's also the director of the CQT in Singapore and the director of the Quantum Division at the Technology Innovation Institute in Abu Dhabi. We then next have Paul Forn-Diaz. Paul Forn is a group leader at ITEFI, and he's also our chief hardware architect. Similarly, Artur Garcia is our chief software architect, and he's a group leader at the BCC, the Barcelona Supercomputing Center. Jordi Blasco is also co-founder and our expert in financial and legal matters. And Alicia is our project and communication manager, and she's also a physicist. Along with this team of business and scientific experts, we also have hardware, a very well integrated hardware, software, and theory team. The hardware team is led by Paul, as I mentioned before, and then we have Ramiro, David, Ife, and David working on the labs. We also have very close in working teams of theory and software that are led by Artur, and we have Jordi, Anna, Matthias, Albert, and Joel, and myself in both theory and software. And, oh, sorry. Okay, so, but what is what Gilimanjaro does, and what is it, our mission? So as the quantum market increases and there's this hype you all know in quantum, Gilimanjaro has born with a mission to provide clients a set of well-integrated quantum solutions, both in the hardware part, the software part, the algorithmics, and a set of consulting services to bring quantum closer to the industry. And all of this is to solve a set of specific problems that we believe will be of interest to the industry. So while there are many companies and many institutions working with different roadmaps, different technologies for quantum computing, for the quantum computing development, many of these actors are focusing on as Ines was mentioning, they are focusing on general purpose quantum computers, trying to obtain a quantum advantage from a universal computation perspective. But as probably everybody knows here, the current technology capabilities still don't allow, they are still far from offering the requirements that fault-tolerant quantum error-corrected computer would need. So we still don't have enough qubits, we still don't have the error threshold that we need for these qubits, but we do have devices that behave nicely, that are serving as proof of principles for quantum applications, and we need to start thinking what we want to do with this. So one of the main purposes of Gilimanjaro is to provide applications of quantum computing in a shorter time frame by using these called NISQ devices as quantum annealers dedicated to solve a specific set of optimization problems without aiming for universality, but without stopping working towards universal and general purpose quantum computing. And the reason for this is that it is the case that some of the most challenging problems the industry faces are related to finding solutions to very large and complex optimization problems. So for instance, from a logistics company that is trying to manage their transportation resources to a very large hospital that is trying to optimize the working schedules of the workers. So for this, Gilimanjaro has a vertical mission to design, develop, and provide access to niche devices ready to tackle such optimization problems. In terms of quantum computation, the gate model or the digital model is the most commonly seen model in companies and academic institutions. At the current state of the technology, as I mentioned before, this model presents some challenges, both related to the presence of large carried errors at the end of the computation and the issues with scalability that come related to these errors. So we cannot keep adding qubits and qubits to aim for fault-tolerant quantum computation yet. So what Gilimanjaro is, while Gilimanjaro is actively working on solving these issues of the digital model, they also actively work on providing solutions to the formation optimization problems with an alternative computation model, which is the adiabatic model. With this model, instead of applying a discrete sequence of gates to our qubits, we encode the solution, we encode the problem in the construct of a target Hamiltonian, and we adiabatically go to the ground state of that target Hamiltonian that contains the solution of our optimization problem. And we aim to provide solutions to these problems with a very particular hardware implementation, which is the quantum annealer. So we propose the use of quantum annealers based on superconducting qubits. More specifically, we are focusing on using flux qubits, but we are also actively working with transmons. And despite you might say that this technology has been explored by other institutions, one of Gilimanjaro's architecture differentiation and additional element is that we want to guarantee coherence, because enough coherence will guarantee the integrity of the quantum information. And this means that the quantum features that drive us away from the classical implementations will be present before the computation finishes. And to finish, but not less important, one of the main aspirations of Gilimanjaro is to bring quantum computing closer to the market. And for this, we not only intend to develop excellent devices, but also to pay special attention to how the user is going to use them, the usability of such devices. And based on the modus operandi of supercomputing centers, Gilimanjaro is building a full stack software infrastructure that we name Quantum as a Service, that will allow clients and users to run and test their algorithms, as well as solving their problems of interest in our devices from the cloud, without having to be physically present in the lab. Moreover, in order to facilitate the algorithm programming, our collaborators and us have been developing a programming framework called Kibo that allows the user to easily write and execute quantum calculations in both our quantum devices and high-performance classical computers for its simulations. And this is a very high-level language description, and it's also agnostic to the type of hardware people use. And that's it for me. You can find more information in our website and in this paper that was published early this year. And thank you very much for your attention.
Thanks a lot, Marta. Well, it seems that we are having problems with the next two speakers. They have been connected, but now they are not. So we have time for some questions if the attendees want to ask something to the panelists. No? Well, if not, I have questions for all of you. At the beginning, we have seen that the USA is leading the software and hardware, but however, Europe is leading the leader in the knowledge. And in Europe, we were developing the technology during years, and now the commercial part is more in USA. Do you think that we will reach them, or that we will surpass them in the near future? Maybe Marta, David, and can answer this one question. Marta?
Sorry. Oh, there we go. So sorry again, you're asking if we will surpass the software and quantum hardware development from other countries?
Yes. You know that now USA is leading the market in quantum computers, and we have very nice initiatives in Europe, but we are maybe years or months, I don't know. I don't know your impression about the future in the hardware in Europe.
I can talk about my experience and my impression from my experience. I'm relatively young in the field, but I spent many years outside Spain and also Europe. I recently came from Japan. And when I left Spain, the field was almost non-existent. It was very little. And just a few years after I came back and I realized how the market is exploding. So if we keep growing that pace, I would expect to be at least very well positioned against other in comparison with other countries and other places. Yes. Okay. I think there's a very quick growth.
And David, what is your opinion about the future? Do you think that ions will surpass superconducting qubits?
That's a very interesting question. You really put me on the spot with that one. I think both ions and superconducting qubits have got their strengths, and they'll possibly go in different directions. I'm interested to see how of course, the well-documented IQM method of co-designing the application with the type of qubit that they have, how far that will go. That's very exciting. And for us, we're going to be developing things as per the requirements of the customer base as well. So I don't think it's going to be a winner. I think we're both going to be winners. And I actually hope that's the case as well.
And Ines, of course, you presented the view of your company about the future, but what do you think?
I actually agree very much with Marta and David. So regarding what David said, I completely agree that I think that we will be competing platforms, but not completely, because I believe that each platform will be ideal for certain problems. And regarding what Marta was saying, I agree that we are kind of working at a very fast pace in Europe. We, of course, have already still a few years of difference in number of qubits and in technology. So it's hard to catch up with big companies like Google and IBM that are, of course, America-based. But on the other hand, I think that the way to go would be these application-specific processors. This is what will give us advantage, because we are smaller companies that are more flexible, that can adapt more fast, and that let's say have internally more. These are companies. So our companies are more flexible, are younger, and I think we are able to adapt more flexibly to the situation and to problems. So I think this is something we should exploit in Europe.
Okay. I remember that this is that they want to make questions to the panelists. You can use the questions and answers button that you have in the bottom of the screen. In the meantime, software, in my opinion, is one of the key points to get profits from your platforms. What do you think about the future of the software? Do you think that we have to make something different, or you have to have a tight integration between the software stack and the hardware stack? No one?
Press the wrong button there. I thought I would maybe just start there. I'm very impressed with the interactions I've had with a number of different quantum software companies, not least with Sam and his team in Multiverse. I've spoken to him a few times. and their desire to really push forward and work with very closely with both the industry that they're working with, for example, finance, multiverse, and then speaking very closely with the correct people at the quantum hardware companies. I think the market for quantum software is really exciting and still developing. And they're doing it hand in hand with the quantum hardware providers. And for me, as somebody that's, we make ion traps, it's superb that there are so many innovative ways to break down the barriers between the quantum hardware, which is ultimately what all these algorithms are going to be running on, and the end user. Because sometimes there can be quite a gap between knowledge base of both and the quantum software providers are making that really nicely. So I'd like to see more quantum software providers of the same sort of exciting, innovative, dynamic manner that say Multiverse or Yoast Quantum or Q&Co. It's a great industry and I really support it.
Any other opinion about that?
Well, I think if we want to find the first dedicated applications of these devices and so on, the key is in the software side, the key is in identifying the algorithms and optimize as much as possible what we have in the hardware side from the software side. So it's not only about creating access stacks and so on, but also optimize as much as possible the resources with what we have in the hardware side, and find the most useful algorithms that allow us to exploit what we have at the moment.
Yes, on my side, I can only agree with Marta and David. I think there has to be a very good communication between, on one side, clients, potential clients that have or pose industrially relevant problems, then software companies that can translate those problems into algorithms that are efficient and that they optimize, and then a good connection between these software companies and hardware companies that can actually produce the best possible hardware platform to implement optimally those algorithms. So this is really a very multidisciplinary task that goes from clients and industry relevant problems to really the lower levels of hardware.
Okay, it seems that we cannot solve the problems that we have with the other two panelists. So if Veronica or Enrique want to make a question to the panelists, to the current panelists, we have time to do. Okay, if not, remember that we will resume the session at 10:30 with another session that Veronica will chair. Thank a lot to the panelists because I think that you have made up great presentations, and I remember the attendees that they can connect using Slack or using Remo and ask directly questions about the technology. They are open to be there at least during 10 minutes. So I represent a lot to all the panelists for the great presentations. Please try to connect to Remo and try to be there to ask questions to the attendees. And thanks a lot to the organization for this session. So we'll resume at 10:30.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It is, let's say, concatenated problem. It's not, let's say, QKD is not about encryption, in contrast to some people or to some statement existing in some very prominent places. Okay. Okay, so the bare practical security basis, of course, if there is no encryption, there is an easy access to the channel, and then everything can be read. With encryption, knowledge about the key is necessary to break encryption in principle. And you know that there are cases where, let's say, pretty much communication has been read. Okay, okay, so what is the standard? Today is the so-called public key cryptography, which is either Diffie-Hellman or Riebesch-Adelman, RSA, and it can be broken with sufficient computational power. In principle, it has been considered unrealistic for many years, but with the advent or the promise of quantum computer, this is possible. And even now, you can practice these things, store now, break later, especially if you are interested in some specific communication. So here, let's say the importance of the communications is crucial. Okay, so let's say in the quantum age, now which we're now entering now, so there are two possibilities to ensure, let's say, security against, let's say, key generation breaking. One is the famous QKD, which we are speaking about. You know, it's information theoretically secure in theory, not maybe in practice, in implementation, but at least it's everlasting secure, because if it's not broken at the moment of transfer, it cannot be broken later. It is actually a hardware technique. Yeah. There is also a post-quantum cryptography, which is being very much say pushed in the United States, NIST and so on. It is classical class of cryptography. It is a kind of extension of public key cryptography. It's a kind of public key cryptography that exists now. It's only secure against the Shor algorithm. It's believed to be secure against the Shor algorithm. And with this, it is, let's say, there is a claim that maybe there is no realistic way now to break with a quantum computer if it's built now. But of course, this is very much speculative. Yeah. Okay. So very shortly, for the QKD, there are two types of systems. There are the discrete variable system, which are based on single photons or their approximations. And of course, there is continuous variable QKD, something which I'll be speaking about here. It is based on quadrature of electromagnetic waves. This is not so well known, but okay, it's based on the uncertainty principle by Heisenberg. Yeah. Okay, so specifically, interesting point is continuous variable QKD, which is one of the possibilities Gaussian modulation, where first, let's say, the electromagnetic field quadratures, as I said, are taken from some Gaussian distribution, and then it is measured by a coherent detector, similar to the telecom coherent communication. Of course, this has to be much more sensitive and much more prone to, let's say, to noise. Okay, and on this basis, we have built our system, so as a prototype system, but already in a pretty much advanced stage, as we'll discuss later. And it is logically, from the optical point of sight, extremely simple. You have just transmitter laser, modulator, then attenuator, and on the other hand side, you have, let's say, the coupler and the, let's say, the coherent measurement. Most of the things happen in the logical domain, which is, let's say, you have first of all to make it logical or digital to analog and then analog to digital. And actually, I would admit that CVQKD is hard in that respect, while it is easy on the optical part in contrast to DVQKD. Yeah. Okay, so from this, we have our own digital signal processing, DSP, which is characteristic only for CVQKD. We have developed our own QKD post-processing in cooperation also with some, in fact, Spanish institutions, UPM. We can support 18 dB channel loss or even more. So we have very low excess noise. We have relatively solid security proofs. We will use dual polarizations and for processing FPGAs and computers. And the software, we say software, the setup is software defined because all the complexity is put into the digital domain, which actually allows us to run different protocols, for example, the one which I showed, but also other ones. And it is, in this sense, highly flexible and allows rapid prototyping. Yeah. And on top of it, it is built from readily available components for coherent communication, and it would allow, in principle, very low-cost implementations if one goes to future, let's say, industrial realization, also photonic integrations. Yeah, the principles are clear. So let's say the Gaussian modulation, which is where we also add the artificial Eric's noise to, let's say, to simplify error correction, which is one of the most difficult parts. And these are different, let's say, reaches measured in dB, which is depends very much on the noise that you can, let's say, reduce, how much you can reduce the noise in the receiver. Here I'm writing SNUU, which means short noise units, or let's say, if you, as a physicist, you can imagine the width of the Gaussian state, of the coherent state. Yeah, and for us, we are somewhere near, but not exactly, on the last curve, which is okay. So we are somewhere around 18 to 20 dB. Another feature of CVQKD is that it allows for co-propagation in contrast to DVQKD in the same, of course, wavelength band. And of course, the degree of co-propagation depends very much on the noise and also, of course, on the distance. And here the distance is really measured in kilometers because the main, let's say, enemy in this case is Raman noise, and Raman noise depends on the distance, not so much on the dB. Okay, so we have had many prototypes. This is the first generation, which has been already demonstrated in Madrid. Some of you have seen it. It was in 2018, so some time ago, and there have been one sender and two receivers with these strange names, and the devices are up there, and below you see just typical telecom equipment. In that case, it was a Huawei equipment. Yeah, and here is how it looks much more in detail. And this has been, let's say, the map in Madrid where this has been demonstrated 2018. Okay, now we are doing something else, as Diego has shown. This is the map of the Open QKD project, where the red triangle or whatever is the old Telefonica ring still existing. And there is much longer distances in the framework of, let's say, Ready Madrid or in there, which, as you know, is the software, or let's say the network provider of the Madrid universities. Yeah, and actually we have here two subnetworks which are connected. At the moment, we are very much advanced in the Ready Madrid part, and Telefonica has to transfer its location, so these things are being done now. But you see interoperation not just between QKD devices of our type, but also QKD devices IDEQ. You see the IDEQ. There is also some Toshiba later on, and encryptors from Rodenschwarz, which is a prominent German company, but also there is Sienna links provided by ADVA. So in a sense, this whole thing is pretty much versatile. Okay, here you see some devices. You see our devices on the top. You see the Quantic devices below, and you see also various telecommunication equipment. Yeah. Okay, there is also, see the time is running, so just we have been also working together with other people, also Diego and many others in ETSI, we are CSGQKD. There is also development in ISO, where we are not participating, but it's very important. There is many developments in the ITUT, the International Telecommunication Union. Recently there is a Sense and Elect development, the focus group on quantum technology, where in fact everybody is invited. The focus group is in fact collecting new participation now. And there is an industrial GSMA participation where big telecoms and providers work together. In conclusion, CV is an appealing QKD option. HDVU, our company, has thoroughly investigated robust QKD implementation. It is software-defined, can be low cost, reach and key rate are optimal for metro environment. In fact, they're competitive compared to other providers. It is with high tolerance to co-propagation, and it can be integrated with existing hardware. And in principle, it's simpler, cheaper, and smaller. So we participate in advanced QKD network demonstrations. And as I have said, we have active engagement in demonstration and certification. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Monchil, so much for your very interesting talk. It seems that continuous variables is a very interesting protocol and with very useful applications. And we'll now move to our next speaker, which is Carlos Avellan from QSight. And Carlos,
hello, Veronica.
Thank you for being here.
My pleasure. Can you hear me well?
Yes, yes, perfect.
Okay, I'll share my screen. I think, Momchil, I think you need to stop sharing yours.
Stop sharing, I believe.
I think I can kick you off. Okay, no.
Sorry, Carlos.
Good. Okay, Veronica, can you confirm it's up?
Yes, yes, it's
okay,
up.
good. So well, thanks a lot for having us here. It's our pleasure to be presenting and talking about QSight. I will be talking more specifically about entropy and random number generation for security and computation and what QSight is doing in this field. And over the last few months, we've been asking this question at the beginning of some presentation, right? When was the last time you used a random number? It's a lot more fun to do it in person. It's less in digital. But if you have a cool idea about when was the last time you used it, please send it to us to info@qsight.com. This is one example of an idea that we did from an internal meeting, right? After watching next Queen's Gambit episode on Netflix, in there you use random numbers. This sounds something just for fun, but it's really interesting to think about how much do we depend on randomness in our daily life and how important it is for the security and privacy of our communications. We use random numbers for any cryptographic environment in, for instance, e-health, e-commerce, data centers, boating, robotics and automation, connected cars, critical infrastructure. So in any cryptographic system, we use randomness. And this is for security, but it turns out we also use it quite a lot in computational workloads. Where does this frame, where does the quantum random number generation journey fit within the quantum safe journey? Momchil has been talking about it, so I will not go into many details, but basically the world is transitioning into a new type of security, of stronger security that is robust to quantum computers and other sort of attacks. And privacy and security is every time something that is more demanded by organizations and even consumers. What is it that we have in this quantum safe migration toolbox? So there are different things to consider. The first one is post-quantum cryptography. The second one is quantum cryptography. The third one is the concept of cryptogility. So in a nutshell, post-quantum crypto is building new mathematics, new cryptography to build algorithms that are not breakable, or at least that we think are not breakable against quantum computers. Quantum cryptography is about what Momchil and Diego have been talking about using physical systems, physical states, quantum physics to exchange data in a secure way. So it's physical security. And then we have the concept of cryptogility. And that basically means we need to engineer systems, products, architectures that can very easily migrate it as soon as there are concerns about cryptographic methods. So they can be upgraded very easily. In all of those, we need more and better randomness. Why better? Because we need, so randomness is a core ingredient for post-quantum crypto and quantum crypto to be safe. So this is why better. And why more? Because in post-quantum cryptography, most of the system use longer key lengths. That means the cryptographic keys are longer. That means we need more random numbers. And already today in some data center environments, there is not enough entropy or good enough entropy. So this is called an entropy starvation problem. And as we're migrating to post-quantum crypto, this will be worse. So we need to generate more entropy. And in quantum cryptography, we need to generate gigabits per second to some of our customers to generate the randomness they need for their system. So more and better randomness is needed in this transition. What is the problem with randomness? Well, generating randomness is really is challenging. First, because it's a hardware problem. So you cannot solve this only with software. So you need to build hardware. The second is because you're trying to generate more randomness. Some people might be tempted to make a trade-off in terms of quality, and that is not good enough. We need to generate more and better randomness at the same time. So this basically, we cannot trade off one for the other. The third one is we need to build proper interfaces between the entropy or randomness generation devices and the system that consumes that. This sounds like something trivial, but it's extremely important. So it's worthless to have a very good random number generator that is improperly connected to the receiver. And the last piece, and this is something we are as a company fully invested in doing, is in increasing the trust and the quality warranties that entropy generation devices bring to the system. Why? Because entropy is essential. Security proofs are typically derived from the assumption that there is unpredictability in the keys, and system developers need to know how much entropy they have and they're using, and we're providing those metrics. The interesting thing is that quantum physics allow us to do that in an easy way. Who are we? We are QSight. We are based in the Barcelona area. We are a spin-off company of ICFO. We spun out in 2017. So this is our 4th year of operation already. And we've been working on quantum and photonic technologies for a decade already. Our mission is to build quantum technologies for safer connectivity and advanced computing applications, and collaborating with product makers and infrastructure makers to enhance the security of their systems. What products do we have available? So that we have 2 product lines at the moment. On the left, you can see the randomness module product line. The first product, the FMC400, was launched last year. This is a 400 megabit per second quantum entropy source with more than 90% entropy bounds. These entropy bounds are calculated, are extracted using a technology that we pioneered while we were at ICFO, and we're transitioning that into our products. That is called randomness metrology. And this system is a plug and play solution for FPGA, for systems that use FPGAs, as the ones that you've seen before. But many systems today are increasingly using the FPGA as a processing unit. So the FMC is directly plugged and play into those systems. But for those of the customers that do not have an FMC interface, we also provide prototyping kits with Ethernet, PCI, or USB interfaces. So this product is commercially shipping today, and we will have new product from the randomness modules family shipping later in 2021. The second product line is our custom photonic quantum entropy chip. It's monolithically integrated in indium phosphide. It uses the exact same technology as the randomness modules. It's called phase diffusion, accelerated phase diffusion. And in this case, we use a 2-laser beating approach called heterodyne detection. This is all published in the literature. And the technology has an amazing bandwidth. So basically, the components we use can operate at gigahertz, and therefore we can extract gigabits per second out of a millimeter square die. And the process is wafer level, so we can produce it at scale. And all of this technology, where is it being applied? So I think this is one of the most important things for quantum technologies and transition them out from research to market. I'll give you 3 examples. The first one is on advanced encryption. And as I said before, there is this problem of entropy starvation, which is typical in virtualized systems, but also in server systems. And there has been different solutions to that. Our technology has been utilized in different infrastructures for this. This is one example that was published recently. We did it with our partners at Crypt and Telefonica. Crypt is integrating QSight's products to generate entropy on their appliances. They made this available to Telefonica, who then made that available as a service to different applications and use cases. What I love about this use case is that this demonstrates how easy it is to start integrating these technologies, and that this is something that is ready, and that is ready to deploy on a wide range of applications. A second example is on quantum key distribution. You heard about this. In most QKD systems, you need to generate random numbers. We have been shipping products for both ground QKD systems, and we're engineering space-proven QRNG systems for QKD. And we've also provided specific solutions optimized for both continuous and discrete variable protocols, delivering the randomness in the exact way that the systems need to modulate the quantum states. And the last application is in computing. So this isn't related to security, but we've made very exciting progress recently. basically on Monte Carlo or randomized workloads and risk assessment technologies. Here with a customer, we've been demonstrating that up to 5x speedups and up to 10x speedups using our technology, our randomness acceleration technology in full workloads. And this is something exciting that we will be reporting more later in 2021. So to wrap up, basically so QSight has a commercial solution in the market for quantum entropy and randomness generation. The FMC 400 and prototyping kits are ready today to ship. You can also pre-order the integrated chips from QSight, and we will work with you to integrate those. And we're also engaging with partners for randomized workloads and optimization routines, looking for the acceleration that really provides an edge on computing environments. So thank you very much for your attention. I'll be happy to answer any question later on.
Thank you, Carlos. That was a very impressive presentation that you've done. And I think we're going to move now to the talk by Lourdes Velasco from Tecnobit, OSS Group. And then I remind you, I will post the link for the Remo sessions in a moment, so in the chat, so that you can all see the link. Okay, Lourdes, whenever you're ready. Thank you.
Hello, Verónica. Thank you for your introduction. I try to put my presentation. Let's go. Can you hear me well?
Yes, yes, perfectly.
Apparently.
Yes, we can see your presentation now too.
Okay. Give me a minute. Because I have. Okay, thank you very much.
You have it in mode, in presentation personal mode. Now, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your introduction, and thank you for inviting us to this workshop to show our work. Okay, hello everybody. My name is Lourdes Velasco. I'm working in Tecnobit in Security and Cryptology department. In this presentation, I'd like to talk about our experience and to show the importance of the keys and how we plan to integrate the technical advances on the near future. That is the integration between classical cryptology, classical legacy system, or current encryptors to the new quantum technologies with focus on transmission of key. That is by QKD. And it's very important for us to understand the key and security role on these applications. I'd like to begin by giving you some background on our company, a brief presentation to Tecnobit for people don't know us yet. Tecnobit is 47 years old with main activities on development, security and defense equipment. Tecnobit covers the complete product cycle of life, including our own manufacturing capability, in addition to design, development and maintenance. We are working on 2 sites, Madrid and Ciudad Real, with 400 employees. The last important item is that Tecnobit belongs to Grupo ESIA, 100% Spanish and private capitals. Sorry. Okay, now let's go to the content of my presentation. Is our experience on security and cryptography. Currently, we produce encryptors that are deployed on military environment. These encryptors protect voice and data communications. Is that? On these particular scenarios, we take attention on the bandwidth in our communications. We don't exchange keys to establish the secure session. We only use the bandwidth to transmit secure information directly because the channel is very narrow band. For this reason, we use symmetric keys that are preloaded on the encryptors, and with this way to work, we are protected to the current vulnerabilities of quantum computing. For instance, it's quantum safe, and it's an advantage, but on the other side is a disadvantage too. It's more complex to distribution of keys. Because of this, we have a lot of experience in this field, in the key management, in how to distribute keys in secure way, with products oriented to keys, the complete cycle of life of a key, as generation, distribution, secure transport and validity, rekey, securities, so on. And for with these two previous points, we think that is a useful use case for QKD. We need symmetric keys in different points or encryptors with traditional cryptology. We will improve the usability and maintenance the keys progressive with QKD integrations to mix and join classical cryptography with the quantic world. Okay, in this slide, this slide shows the use case proposed previously with an illustration. Okay, the integration of current products and a QKD system. First, the keys are received by the encryptors directly from QKD system, where encryptors continue using the traditional channel, secure and secure communication channel. And second, as added value, keys are received from for a lot of encryptors via key management products, where keys are stored in secure way, even with hardware protection. For it, we will propose the integration with a QKD systems, both equipment encryptors as a final user and key management as infrastructure to provide a secure keys, following and complying, of course, complying always a standard interface like ETSI. Integration is an important issue and is a challenge from point of view of security to guarantee the keys and not vulnerabilities on the system. It's important to do easy for users and from the point of view of security for the future security accreditation process. At the end, I like to conclude by sharing with you the projects we are working with quantitative key distribution. There are some challenges to improve the technology with different distance and bit rate, and to guarantee the security with current encryptors for different communication channels like fiber optic or even free open space. We are working on secure communications with current encryptors using a QKD system through telcos fiber optics, a free open space with different distance from hundreds of meters in metropolitan areas or 2 kilometers in satellite communication with GEO or LEO satellites. In all of these projects, we're collaborating with national institutions and universities and national partners, companies as ITEFI-CSIC, INTA, UPM, ISPASAT, Thales Alenia, it's very interesting to review all the presentation because most of them present here today too. The capabilities of the Spanish industry is at value one for others. That is all for my part. Thank you very much for the opportunity to tell you our experience and our plans to integrate the current encryptors with the classical cryptography with the future and the new techniques.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Lourdes, for your talk. It was very interesting. It seems that we have a we're very active in all the aspects related to quantum technologies, such as classical quantum cryptography and post-quantum cryptography, which is very good. And now I will inform you that the interactive sessions will start now. You can click on the link that I sent you in the chat, and you can ask questions to the speakers. And then we will have a coffee break, but the interactive session will be open in case you want to stay there for a while. And at 11:30, we will have the next session of quantum finance. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Thank you.
This session has five talks. We start now at 30:30, and it will finish around, if I remember correctly, sorry, it's at 12:20. Well, first of all, I would like to recall all of you again that there are no questions after talks, so the questions will be done via Remo. I have shared the link, and Jesus has sent a shorter one to Remo in order to connect directly to this session. You will have 10-15 minutes after the talks. Just the last thing, please remember to remove your camera when you are not talking, just to avoid avoid problems with the bandwidth. And well, I think that's all. We can start with Javi. The first speaker now is Javier González Conde, who is CEO of Quantum Maths, and also my suffering PhD student. He's going to talk if he, Javi, can you share the screen? Hi. Okay, perfect.
Yes, thank you for the introduction, Mikel. Well, let me, yes, my computer is a little bit, okay, now. So thanks for the introduction, Mikel. Well, in this talk, just briefly introducing which is the philosophy of our company. So first of all, I want to remark what do we do? So we design quantum algorithms in different computational paradigms. So we have, for instance, gate-based quantum computers, we have quantum annealers, etc. And the most important and the key point here, it is that we are quantum hardware agnostics. It means that we will use the best hardware solution in every step of the development of quantum computers and quantum technology. So we strongly believe that it is a long-term way, and there's a lot of years till we reach the maximum exponent and the maximum impact of the quantum computing. Maybe it will be reached within the next 10 years. And in this moment, we have to keep ourselves avoiding the hype at the same time that we have a sustainable strategy. So we consider that we have already some competitive advantages just that are brought by using quantum-inspired or quantum or third-chain quantum algorithms, and that provide certain value to the industry that can be already rolled out at scale. So let me introduce you the team that makes this possible. So we have the quantum core that it is mainly formed by a PhD candidate from QT Center at the University of the Basque Country, while the final score brings together experts in finance with more than 20 years of innovation in the industry through science, successful entrepreneurs in quantitative finance, and we have also hybrid profiles coming from the best business schools of Europe. And in the end, we complete our team together with senior software developers coming from the best companies, the best technological companies of the Basque Country. So now that I have introduced ourselves, let me go through an overview of what we consider it is the approach of finance by using quantum computing. So there are a lot of use cases. Here I have decided to highlight these 8. So I would like to mention that every use of case can be modeled by using different techniques. For instance, we can apply optimization techniques, just modeling the problems as Kubo problems and optimizing them using quantum annealers. We also can make use of simulations, Monte Carlo simulation that can be improved with a quadratic factor of quantum Monte Carlo simulations. And the point is here that some of these modelizations can be already be run in quantum inspired or quantum hardware and have already a leverage in the industry and can bring a real impact nowadays, improving some of the current techniques that are used in the state of the art. So the point here it is that here in quantum maths we have focused in 3 of these problems. In concrete, I'm going to talk about our 3 main products, which are quantum maths, which consists on the generation of market artificial data series. We have also developed the product Crypto, which consists in finding arbitrage opportunities in cryptocurrencies exchanges. And we also have developed Qualokit, which consists in optimizing portfolio, taking into account different criteria as the risk, the returns, or some macroeconomics metrics. So the point is that all of these 3 problems, all of these the 3 products are based on optimizing third-chain modelization of the problems, and this can currently be run in quantum annealers or in quantum-inspired annealers. So this is why we have jointly developed these 3 products along with Fujitsu. So I'd like to zoom in one of these 3 products just to give you a brief overview of the result that we have obtained. And I'm going to talk about Crypto. So it is about finding arbitrage opportunity in these markets, in these cryptocurrency markets. And the point here it is that with respect to the classical methods that we have benchmarked, we have the capability to obtain cycles and opportunities that can be executed in parallel. And we also have a better a better execution time in terms of latency. So the point here is to give you an overview. Here, for instance, we have analyzed an hour of operations in the markets, and we have operated 627 opportunities. And the upper bound of the total profit that we may obtain just by starting with $1,000 would be almost 3,000. So we strongly believe that this can be a really powerful tool that can bring a lot of value in terms of making a profit of these opportunities that crypto markets offer us now that we have this hype on this field. So the point now that I have already presented you what we do, it is to give you an overview, a realistic vision of what we consider it is behind the quantum finance, and some common mistakes that we do understanding what is quantum computing and we can expect and we can do not. So the point here, the most common mistake it is to consider the quantum computing as a black box. So problems that are theoretically unresolvable by using classical computers, they are not computable with classical computers, they will not be with quantum computers. So the difference can be in terms of resources and the modelization, but there is an equivalence in terms of computability. So the second error here, it is to think that quantum computers bring a modelization together with the problems. So that's not true. We need a previous mathematical model to be improved with certain quantum algorithms. And the third key point here, it is that quantum computing only speeds up some certain problems. And the problem itself of knowing which of them can be speed up or not, it is an NP problem. So we don't have we have the certainty that we are going to solve them in a more efficient way than classical algorithms, but we can have an intuition. So finally, another usual thought, it is that one quantum problem will have one quantum pure solution. And this is not true, because most of times in the current state of the current state of the Earth, and in this era, we will need hybrid solution that can be integrated in the legacy of the clouds. So the point here is the second common mistake. It is on the one hand the lack of expertise and the generalization of the algorithms to all the problems. But we have to consider that given the state of the art, especially with respect to the hardware, we have to design adapted solutions to every problem, and we have to customize the algorithms. And on the other hand, we have also a lack of understanding of the intrinsic ecosystem and the needs of the clients and the financial industry. So we need experts in this field, classical experts that really know how to model these problems.
Javi, time is running out.
The point here, it is that despite all this pessimistic view, we have that we can be optimistic in terms of the cutting down of the dramatic energy cost of high performance computing with quantum computers, and we can also consider that only a factor advantages and not the reduction of the complexity order can bring certain value to the industry. So in the end, I would like to give you our protocol. So the first part of our scheme action, it is to consider the financial insiders that can provide us the real vision of the problems model from a realistic point of view, avoiding the idealistic modelization of the problems from the academic point of view. The second point here is to rank all these alternatives that we have to classically solve all these problems, taking into account the real and financial constraints. And in a third approach, we will shift it to the quantum paradigm, and we will try to find which are the best which is the best ranking of the solutions, taking into account the classical criteria and also the quantum improvements that can be done by using the algorithms. And in the end, what we do is to provide quantum on quantum inspired nodes integrated into the scheme and the methods, the classical methods that there are already in the legacies of our clients. So thank you very much for your time and for listening. I hope that you have enjoyed.
Thank you very much, Javi. Now let's go for the next talk. Please, Roman, if you can share the...
Let me share the screen. Can you hear me well?
Yep.
Can you see the screen?
Perfectly.
Okay, so let's start and then we catch up on time. So
well, let me introduce you.
Oh, well, exactly. Sorry, I was just catching up.
Yeah, don't worry. Well, Roman, everybody knows him, so it's not necessary for the introduction, but he's scientific director of Multiverse and also a Gervasque professor at the Donostia International Physics Center in San Sebastian. And he's willing to talk, so please go ahead.
I mean, since you were in a hurry and you told us that you had to be tight on time, okay, thanks, Mikel. Thanks to the organizers for the opportunity of giving this talk here this morning. It's been a pleasure to be here with you to give you a quick talk on quantum computing for finance and what we are doing at Multiverse Computing. So, Mikel, keep me on time. So, this is Multiverse. You know, we do quantum and quantum-inspired computing for finance. This first slide is already a declaration of principles. Here are our two alma maters, ITEFI-CSIC and also the Creative Destruction Lab in Toronto. We have the Seal of Excellence of the European Union. We are in the Quantum Industry Consortium of the European Union, and we have been highlighted in different places: Forbes, McKinsey, IBM, The Economist, and Boston Consulting Group. This is about the company. This is a bit of a summary. We have the headquarters in San Sebastian and also offices in Toronto. We raised €1.5 million of venture capital fund, and we are planning to raise another round very soon. We are operating as a software as a service company. We have a product. It's called Singularity. We are overperforming the market standards, and our algorithms are proprietary. We have a very intensive patent program. At this moment, as of today, and this was updated yesterday night, we are 19 people and more people coming. We are hiring the best talent in the world. We have 10 PhDs in the team at the moment. And well, as I told you, have been cited in different places. Let me just move on. As I was telling you, we are developing quantum and quantum-inspired algorithms that we are implementing into what is our solution that we are commercializing as software as a service. It's called Singularity. Now, this is production ready. We are very proud of that. So our aim is to work always with real data on real problems and to deploy it inside of the production chains of the customers. And, you know, we are very proud also of Singularity because from our perspective, it's making quantum computing easy, not just powerful, but also easy for the final client. We've been working with different people, including people that we'll talk later, and I'm referring to Escolastico from BBVA, also from Bankia, which no longer exists, and now it's CaixaBank, and also with the Diputación de Guipúzcoa here on a problem related to tax fraud, actually. With BBVA and Bankia, we've been working on the portfolio optimization problems using real data. So this has been, well, this has appeared in a couple of papers. They are on the archives and they are considered for, they have been already submitted for publication with BBVA. I'm sure Escolastico will tell more details about this. This was the first implementation with real data up to 52 assets and 8 years of data. We use D-Wave hybrid there and also IBM and also some quantum-inspired algorithms with Bankia. We did something similar, but instead of being a dynamic portfolio optimization, it was a static. Well, no, sorry, it was dynamic also, but it had different constraints. It was including a minimal holding period. In that case, it was with 50 assets and using D-Wave and some tricks based on post-selection. The trick here, well, the important thing here is that this was an astronomical problem that was almost impossible or very difficult to solve using high-performance computing. It was very inefficient. It took a lot of time. And with the quantum computing solution that we found, it was particularly efficient. It was so efficient that the D-Wave guys were so happy about it that they actually did a special release about that. You can check it on their website, actually, and you can read it. And I think it's a very nice thing to read. We have been improving our algorithm since then, and we are now actually able to optimize over the full SP500 using Singularity. And we are very proud, as I was telling you, that we are doing this production ready. So we will hear about this very soon. Now, we've been doing other things. For instance, detecting fraud using quantum computers. This was a project with the Diputación de Guipúzcoa. Here, it was a quantum machine learning project where we had several millions of interactions between different taxpayers in the Guipúzcoa region. And here we use algorithms that came from astrophysics that typically people use to identify interesting galaxies in the universe from pictures. We use them to identify anomalies in the data from taxpayers, okay? Now, we are very proud to say that we were able to save around 40 years of work to the administration. Thanks to this, we use these algorithms in combination with several layers of artificial intelligence and then also quantum inspired and quantum computing. And at the end of the day, we got very good results. How we do this? Well, we are quantum agnostic. We tackle all possible quantum hardware platforms also for many different reasons. But in particular, because we think that different algorithms adapt particularly well to different types of machines. We have access to many different platforms nowadays. I think it's between 10 and 12 with 4 or 5 different types of technology: superconducting, photonic, Rydberg atoms, trapped ions, and so on. Moreover, we also do quantum-inspired solutions. We are our in-house specialty is tensor networks, of course, but we also consider digital annealing and quantum-inspired optimization from Microsoft. So we try to tackle best of both worlds. We have different partners. On the technology side, we try to partner with the hardware providers. So right now we are working a lot with D-Wave. We're also working a lot with Alpine Quantum Technologies, who are our good friends from Innsbruck, with IonQ also, and with Pascal from France. But also we are very good friends of Xanadu, of IBM, and so on. Now we also have business partners, as you can see here on the right-hand side, the CTL from Toronto, but we are also very proud to be supported by the Basque government and also have some agreements with the University of the Basque Country, and in particular the Faculty of Computer Science here in San Sebastian. So we are moving fast. This year we are starting some proofs of concept outside of finance actually. We are starting to explore other possibilities. We are interested in working in energy, also in health, mobility, and cryptography. And as I was telling you, during the year, we are going to start the first investigations in some of these directions. The team is growing. It's actually growing pretty fast. This is the last picture updated as of yesterday night. As I was telling you, we are 19 people already between San Sebastian and Toronto. 10 of them are PhDs. We are hiring top world talent. Most of the technical team is in San Sebastian. Part of the technical team is also in Toronto. The business team is depending on where they are. All right, and we are incredibly proud of the team that we are building. And I think that that's everything I wanted to tell you. I think I catched up in time, and I will be very glad to try to answer maybe your questions afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Roman. You are perfect in time. One can feel the years in Germany. Thank you very much. Let's move to the next one. Gustavo Ordóñez. Can you share your screen, please?
I can, yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Right, okay, just give me a second.
So in the meantime, just to avoid the same problem that with Roman, Gustavo is head of economic capital analytics in HSBC, and he is going to talk about quantum computing in finance. So really the topic of this session. Thank you.
Hi, yeah. Actually, I'm not going to. I'll try not to repeat anything that the previous presenter have already touched on. So I'm going to actually focus on what we're actually doing at HSBC, rather than the more generic question of what is application of quantum computing to finance. But I mean, there's a big crossover because HSBC is one of the largest financial organizations in the world. So we basically cover all the use cases have already been mentioned. So yeah, my name is Gustavo Ordóñez Sanz. I head the Economic Capital Analytics team for HSBC globally. I also have a lead role in innovation for the risk department, and obviously I also lead the quantum computing efforts at HSBC. So what I'm going to cover in the next 9 minutes or so, I'm going to just give you a bit more background about myself, and then I'm going to tell you what's the journey, what the journey has been so far at HSBC on quantum computing. And I'm going to close by give you a bit of an overview of the next application of quantum computing project, of which HSBC is a partner in. Okay, so about myself, so I got a background in physics. I graduated in theoretical physics for the University Autónoma of Madrid. And then I did a PhD in particle physics and high energy physics, working at CERN. That's not me in the picture, by the way, unfortunately, but I was around when that picture was taken. It's a picture of the Atlas detector in the LHC at CERN, and my PhD was actually within that experiment. I transitioned to finance in 2008, and I've been working in quantitative analytics since, mostly around risk management. Okay, so what it is that we've been doing at HSBC, what's been the journey so far? So we've been working, we've been setting up quantum computing efforts for about 2 years now at HSBC. The main way of doing that has been by setting up a global working group, and we have members spanning all areas of the business as well as functions. So that includes the investment bank, the asset management side, the insurance, retail banking, wholesale banking, and then all the functions of risk, finance, IT, etc. So we have had a very good reception, and we have a lot of very active members in this community. And how we actually have or how we're setting up ourselves is that we are linked up with other innovation and R&D activities within the bank, which gives us basically access to dedicated research infrastructure for quantum computing, and through our global partners, we actually have access to quantum computer providers, for basically to all the working group members. So it's very easy for us to run experiments and to do research. And on top of that, we're also partnering with vendors and academics through doing joint research. An example of which I will cover later on is this NISC project. But the main goal of the working group is basically to set up or to pave the way to quantum computing roadmap adoption at HSBC. So and we do that by identifying and pursuing specific use cases. So this is just a bit of the, it's not an exhaustive list of the things that we're working on, but it will give you and you would probably recognize a number of these already from previous talks. But these are some of the areas that we're exploring. How we actually identify use cases to, what we like to actually invest time and effort on is basically defining, can we actually start working on it now? We don't need to actually wait for a specific level of maturity in the underlying technology stack in order to actually get our hands dirty with the problem. Even if it's through through inspired quantum inspired techniques that we can actually start working on that particular problem. The other criteria we would use to choose specific use case is, does it actually fit in within our roadmap? It's going to actually really help HSBC adoption of this technology as it matures. And finally, but also quite importantly, is the particular problem we're trying to solve still going to be a problem in the time scales that as a quantum computer matures? So if there's a problem that we think is not going to be as big a problem in the next decade, then it probably doesn't make sense to actually now deploy a lot of effort unless it helps with the roadmap, as mentioned before. Okay, so now in terms of of specific use cases. Well, quantum cryptography obviously is one of the key ones because we want to ensure that our data and our clients' data, as well as the means of secure payments online, would remain secure, even in a quantum world. So that's one that we're definitely closely monitoring and keeping an eye on, and ensuring that we developed internal expertise on. Other examples that have already been mentioned is optimization, in particular portfolio optimization, but also in other areas. I mean, actually, optimization problems are ubiquitous in finance, right? You find them everywhere. So examples of that would be asset liability management, so the collateral management in treasury. I think I saw ATM cash replenishment is a very interesting optimization problem where it's not only a problem of a logistic problem, basically on which branch or ATM point to visit first, but it's also trying to optimize it such that you replenish the cash as seldomly as possible. Other examples are quantum machine learning. So that is a very exciting space with lots of things going on. Again, machine learning problems are used almost everywhere now in finance, and quantum machine learning has huge promises. So that's another one that we're keeping an eye on. And then in the more longer term, we are looking at things like option pricing and derivative risk management, as well as counterparty credit risk management. And that is one of the ones that we're actually looking at in this NIASC project, which is the final part of my presentation. So what is NIASC? So as I said, next application of quantum computing. So this is basically applications of quantum computing using noise intermediate scale quantum machines. So noisy and not too many qubits. HSBC is one of the partners. There are 11 other partners in this consortium. It's funded by the European Union. So it's a European level type of project, and HSBC is the sole representative of the financial services industry in the project, and we are working with our colleagues in the Universidad de Coruña as well as the CSIC Institute, in particular on the option pricing and as I said, derivative risk management and counterparty credit risk management. So these are areas where Monte Carlo techniques are typically used because of the flexibility that Monte Carlo provides to actually solve very complex problems. But it comes at the cost of huge computing power resources needed to actually do this effectively, especially when you have hundreds of thousands of this type of complex products that you need to price and risk manage on a daily basis. So so the promise of quadratic advantage from quantum is very it's extremely interesting for us. Gustavo. 1 minute, yeah, almost done. Thank you. So yeah, we're working with our colleagues, as I said, in Universidad de Coruña and CSIC to tackle these problems. There are big open problems, so this by no means guarantee that you will get this quadratic speed up, but it's a very exciting, and we're very happy to be working with in this project. So yeah, thank you very much. That covers my presentation.
Thank you very much, Gustavo. Yes. Very nice talk. Let's go to the next talk by Scholástico Sánchez in the last minute change. Can you share your screen?
Hi there, I'm going to share. Just wait a moment, please. It's not working right now. Let me try again. Is it working now?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Well, Scholástico is, as I said, it's a last-minute change. I appreciate a lot that he accepted to give a talk with just 2 hours in advance. So thank you very much. And he's research and patent discipline leader at the BBVA, and he's going to talk about the quantum ready journey that the bank is doing. Please go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for your interest in our quantum journey in BBVA. My name is Scholástico Sánchez, Esco. Thanks a lot, Mikel. Thanks a lot for the invitation. I am a mathematician that by chance started working in finance more than 20 years ago, when a famous hedge fund with famous scientists in its board lost almost $5 billion in 1998. I'm sure the oldies of the place will remember long-term capital management, Shows, and Merton, and all these people. Well, our Spanish Market Authority was afraid of those scientists in finance and decided to open 2 positions for mathematicians. So I became a civil servant in that public body. And after 6 years there, I began in BBVA. First as an equity portfolio manager. I went in another department, so for especially in portfolio manager, but also in risk, in compliance. And nowadays, I am leading the research and patent discipline in my bank. I want to tell you 3 things. I'm going to go to slide 2. Okay. These are the things, or the answer to the question that we always ask in the beginning of a research line. The first one: what's the problem to be solved? It's exponentiality, as my colleagues have told you before. Lots of problems tend to have an exponentially difficult solution. And classical computing and its Moore's law, stating that computer's capacity doubles every couple of years, is facing frontally nowadays with subatomic size. And you know that in this size, a stranger thing happens. Second thing that I want to tell you today is how is it done today with quantum computing and its qubits that are here to prove its advantage over the distant cousins, the bits. Bits are the minimal classical. Well, you all know this, but I think that it's important to remark. Bits are the minimal classical unit of information, a 1 or 0, like a German answer, or the 9, the yes or no. And on the other hand, we have the qubits, or the quantum bits, that are a mix of a 1 or a 0, like a Spanish answer, and maybe un quizás. Okay, you never know until reality collapses. Theoretically, this advantage has been proven, but robust scalability of this quantum hardware is still an engineering nightmare. But maybe not for so long, such a nightmare, because there's good news on a daily basis in this sense. And the third question that I want to tell you this morning, what do we propose? And in BBVA, we think that we must develop capabilities in quantum computing. Our approach is not very different from that of HSBC or other banks in the ecosystem, but we must develop capabilities in quantum computing. And our main goal is to bring the age of quantum opportunities to everyone. And let me focus on this because we are short of time. Let me focus on this part, okay, on the part of our proposal. Let's go to another. Okay. The financial sector is a great fishing ground for quantum advantage. We have to think big, and at the end we will have to be quantum ready to give our clients the best services. There are these 2 things. These are 2 of our main values in BBVA: think big and client first. So in 2018 we implemented our plan, being hardware agnostic, as you have seen in all the colleagues that have told before, and especially pegged to business lines. So, following this scientific method that you can see in this slide, in its second phase, our hypothesis was that quantum advantage could be proven for some sort of optimization and Monte Carlo simulation problems. Okay, and some variants of this, but basically these 2 types of problems: optimization in the near term, as Gustavo said, in the near term with NISQ. We can obtain certain advantage in optimization and in quantum simulation. Okay, we went to our business lines. Okay, we collected 10 problems in our business line. We went in asset management. We went to corporate and investment banking. We went to global risk management. A variety of business lines where the fishing ground was really important. We collected 10 problems in this business line, applied this prioritization funnel with filters of feasibility and business impact, and eventually we executed 6 proofs of concept, the third phase of the scientific approach. The special thing here is that we are hardware agnostic, and we are back to business lines. Okay, and we have diversified. We have diversified in providers. We have diversified in hardware. We have diversified, but diversifying is a key topic in finance. So we have diversified in all these type of things. An example of these proofs of concept, like Roman told you before. Maybe Roman, this is not your actual logo, your current logo, but anyway, sorry for that. But this was the logo when we were together last year, and this is one of the we are really proud of this proof of concept. It was in optimization, dynamic portfolio optimization, as Roman said. In trading trajectories, I strongly recommend to you to see our paper that is nowadays is not archived, but it will be in some physics physics journal in the near term. And if you can see here the result, it's really amazing, the advantage. We divided in several sizes, and the biggest one, the XXL portfolio, with 52 assets and with 8 years of data, we achieved this advantage in comparison with the current methods, and it's really important. We also have a collateral benefit from this quantum research that is quantum inspired. One of these methods, tensor networks, is also with some advantage in here. And we have done 5 more proof of concept, but I think that we are really proud of this, and I think this is the one that we wanted to show you. The other are in the realm also of optimization with credit, with arbitrage, with forex arbitrage in our corporate and investment banking, with credit scoring, with static portfolio optimization, and also with Monte Carlo simulation for the valuation of some derivatives, with a component of credit value adjustment in there, and to some extent more complicated than the usual one. There will be a paper in the next month, maybe, with our result on this. And from my side, I think that it's if you have any question, I will be more than happy to answer that in the following session. And from my side, I think it's enough with this, if you consider that appropriate.
Thank you very much, Gustavo. It's very nice. Sorry, Gustavo. Sorry, I'm Escolástico. Sorry. I remember that the answers and questions will be answered via Remo. I sent before the link. Now, as the last speaker today is Ángel Rodríguez Rozas. You have to stop. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Ángel.
Yep.
Yeah, perfect. Yep. So Ángel Rodríguez Rozas is a quantitative analyst in Banco Santander, and he's going to talk today about the title of his talk today is Prospect and Challenges in Quantum Computing Research for the Pricing of Financial Derivatives. So please go ahead with your presentation.
Okay, so thank you very much, Mikel, for the nice introduction, and thank you everyone for being here today in this exciting event. It's nice to see that our country, Spain, is also pushing so much forward this field and share this progress with colleagues from other banks also, and from academy industries across. It's very exciting. So we have also here in Santander some initiatives, internal ones, to start exploring a bit this quantum adventure. I would not lose time with those details so far, because more or less they are very much in the same lines as Escolastico was presenting before, and also the POX cases from HSBC and so on. So we are really at the beginning. So what I will focus more is in the active collaboration that I started on my personal own with the team of Miquel Sanz and Professor Enrique Serrano from the Basque Country and their PhD students. So first, as a motivation, I would like to go back to the beginning of classical computing to understand also how, in which point from the classical quantum computing, from the classical computing we are. That I think is a nice picture to understand better what the quantum computing can offer us. So this is the first Intel microprocessor developed back in 1971. And it was made only of 2000 transistors, and it was very slow. And then ever since, in the news, it was a revolution, and everyone was very excited about the projection in the future, what we will be able to achieve. And ever since, things have been developing a lot, and this is the most, in my point of view, representative graph that shows this progress. So this is in logarithmic scale, and this is in orange the number of transistors that the chips contains along the years. So we can see this exponential growth, which is a very amazing growth in an industry such as the chip industry. But we see here a problem. So if we look at the green and the blue lines, we see that the frequency of the processors and also the power associated to them in blue has stagnated a bit since 2000, more or less. Ever since, there is no free lunch, and then the algorithms need to improve through other kind of strategies, and nowadays there is no other chance than going to parallel computing. Parallel computing has been growing a lot also in the same way, exponentially, and now we have supercomputer facilities with even 7 million computer cores, but it's really hard to extract efficiency from those high number of cores. And parallel computing has their own limitations, and I think it's really very interesting and in some cases even mandatory to explore quantum computing path. So of course, moving from classical computing to quantum computing is very costly. So it's in terms of efforts. So the paradigm is very different. So we don't solve the problems in the same way. Back in the 1970s, we were programming also in low-level programming languages, such as assembler, and even at the massive language level. But in quantum computing, we are more or less at the same stage right now. So we are developing algorithms using circuits, and we hope that this is going to develop also and to have a more high-level programming languages. So our contribution is based essentially in derivative pricing. So now I want to focus in what the field of quantum computing has been developing until now. So when we need to solve a pricing problem, essentially we are solving a partial differential equation, or through the Feynman-Craig formula, we can solve also the equivalent formulation through an stochastic differential equation. So one way to solve this problem is to discretize the PDE and then to solve the ensuing linear algebra system. And for that, there is a paper from 2009. I'm not aware of further developments in this direction. Perhaps there are some contributions, but not so sounded. Of course, this is really costly right now. And it's more interesting to go by the approach of trying to solve the ensuing SDE problem, as I was mentioning before. And there are a couple of interesting papers in the literature in collaboration with Goldman Sachs and IBM and ETH. So in this paper, they were able to load the final distribution of the stochastic process for the stock price, which is given in a closed form solution. So I think this algorithm is very nice, but it will be interested to extend it to solve the dynamics of the SDE, which is the tough problem, of course, everyone wants to solve. Also, there is this nice paper about Goldman Sachs that that provide some thresholds, upper bound for the computational cost and the number of resources that we need to solve interesting problems in finance, especially path-dependent problems like autocallables, for instance. They project that we will need 7,000 logical qubits and 46 million TDF gates. Perhaps in 5-10 years, those algorithms will be available to be solved in a quantum hardware, hopefully. And also, well, there is the research line of solving the PDEs. We have been contributing in this line in collaboration with, as I mentioned before, QT's team. And essentially, we have done 2 different papers, one with Ana Martin, the PhD student. So she was able to develop a nice quantum PC algorithm to reduce the dimensionality of a given pricing problem in the context of the HEM model. So you have the paper for more details and just reviewing a bit the contribution that we have made. I really strongly encourage you to check this paper. And also for the derivative pricing, for solving the black hole problem, we have developed an algorithm based on an embedding technique in order to solve the limitation of dealing with the dynamics of the anti-Hermitian part. Again, I don't have time to go into details, but feel free to check our paper that is already in archive, and hopefully we will publish soon in a journal. And essentially, those are the things that I wanted to highlight. So from my opinion, so we have promising quantum algorithms, but still the hardware is very under the first stages of development. We need to improve in all directions, actually. So not only algorithm, but also from the point of view of circuit optimization, also delivering more general frameworks, libraries, and perhaps hopefully in the future programming languages. Error correction is very critical, and hardware solutions, they need to mature a lot yet. So more importantly, we need enthusiasm and joint effort from the academic and the industry, from the youngest people generation studying quantum computing to the experience of the people from quants and that are more experienced in developing methods and classical numerical techniques that are important to understand very profoundly. And this is a bit the conclusions, and we'll be happy to answer any questions in the next session. Mikel? Hi. I don't know if
Les Gomez here. I don't know what's happening with Mikel.
Yeah.
So I think, let me check. I think that this is the last presentation. So I hope that you can join now in remote to ask questions.
Of course.
Mikel shared before the link, I think, to connect to Remo. And thank you very much for your nice presentations. I think that you have presented a very nice panorama about the status of the quantum computing in finance from your side. That is more important. And of course, I hope to see you in Remo and in the next session. We will resume again at 13:30 with a presentation from CDTE with Emilio Iglesias Cadarso and Fernando Martin. So now it's a break for lunch, and good appetit.
Thank you very much.